When you're carrying the weight of trauma or grief, it can honestly feel like you're stuck in a storm that just won't end. The feelings are, well, they're heavy, they're constant, and they're so personal. But what if I told you that healing isn't just some abstract hope, but a real biological possibility that's literally hardwired into your brain? You know that feeling, right, where a certain sound or a smell or even just a random thought can yank you right back into a moment you would do anything to forget? It's like this emotional movie is playing on a constant painful loop. If that sounds familiar, I really need you to hear this. You are so far from being alone. And that feeling, it is not a character flaw, it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a biological response, a survival tool that's just gotten stuck. And understanding the science behind why it's stuck is the very first step to getting free. So let's dig into what's really going on. So why does trauma feel so permanent, so sticky? To get that, we have to start with how it creates this fundamental disconnection inside of us, this kind of split between our mind and our body. This really powerful idea comes from Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, who is one of the world's top experts on trauma. What he's saying is, trauma isn't just a bad memory you have. It's a physiological event that gets imprinted on our bodies, and it drives this deep wedge between how we think and how we physically feel. Think of it like this. You've got your thinking brain that handles all the logic, the memories, the storytelling, and then you've got your feeling brain, which controls all the automatic stuff, your heart racing, your breath getting shallow when there's a threat. Trauma acts like a major system glitch. It cuts the wire between those two parts. So your body can be physically reacting to a danger from your past, even when your thinking brain knows, logically, that you're perfectly safe right now. And that's why it's so disorienting. It feels like you can't trust your own body, like you're at war with yourself. Okay, so now let's zoom in a little closer and look at what's happening inside your head on a neurological level. Because this isn't just about feelings. Trauma literally changes the physical wiring of your brain. Deep inside your brain, there's this little alarm system called the amygdala. Its main job is to scan for threats and keep you safe. But after a traumatic event, this whole system gets recalibrated. It becomes way too sensitive, kind of like a smoke detector that starts screaming every single time you make a piece of toast. And what that means is your brain gets stuck constantly scanning your surroundings for danger. It's on high alert 24/7. This state has a name. It's called hypervigilance. And it is physically and emotionally exhausting because your body is always braced for a threat that isn't even there. This constant state of alert just keeps flooding your body with stress hormones. It traps you in what's called a chronic fight or flight response. Your heart might be pounding, your muscles are always tense. Your nervous system is basically stuck in survival mode, and that can lead to some really intense anxiety and eventually total burnout. Now, all that stress doesn't just mess with your body, it really impacts your mind too. Researchers have a name for the cognitive side effects: grief brain. This shows up as things like memory loss, that feeling of brain fog, or just a complete inability to focus on anything. So if you've ever felt completely scattered or forgetful after a loss, this is why. It's a real physical thing. Okay, I know, that was the tough part, and it can all sound pretty bleak, but this is the pivot. This is where the entire story changes. Because the very same mechanism that allows the brain to be rewired by trauma is also its secret superpower for healing. And that superpower has a name: neuroplasticity. It's this simple but absolutely life-changing idea that your brain is not fixed. It's not set in stone. It is constantly changing, reorganizing itself, and building new pathways based on your experiences. It's literally how we learn and adapt our entire lives. And this right here is the central message of hope. Trauma can carve these really deep pathways in our brains, for sure. But because of neuroplasticity, those pathways are not permanent. You can create new ones. Your brain is not broken or permanently damaged. It is built to adapt and to heal. So, if the brain can actually heal itself, how do we help guide it along on that journey? Well, the good news is we're not just wandering around in the dark. There's actually a well-established roadmap for this process. Experts in this field, like the incredible author, trainer, and trauma survivor Carolyn Spring, have laid out a very clear, phased-based approach to recovery. It's not about finding some magical quick fix, but about moving through a structured, supportive process. The whole journey starts with phase 1, safety and stabilization. This is all about creating a sense of safety in your life and in your own body first. Only when that foundation is solid can you move to phase two, which is carefully processing the traumatic memories without getting re-traumatized. And then finally, phase three is about integration and reconnection. It's about weaving these experiences into the larger story of your life and building a future where you are back in the driver's seat. All right, let's bring this all together. Let's get practical, because understanding the science is one thing, but actively using it to rewire your own future, that's where the real power is. So the big question becomes, what can you actually do, starting today, to encourage your brain to build those new, healthier, more peaceful pathways? Now, what's so cool about this list is that these aren't just coping mechanisms to get you through the day. No, these are active brain training exercises. Things like cognitive behavioral therapy help you identify and challenge the thought patterns that keep you stuck. Practices like mindfulness and meditation literally strengthen the parts of your brain that are in charge of focus and calm. And even the basics, like really prioritizing sleep, eating well, and journaling, they all give your brain the fuel and the space it needs to physically repair itself. And of course, doing any of this with a trained professional can make the journey so much smoother. If you're finding this helpful, subscribe to the Psych Files for weekly psychology insights that actually matter. And if you're more of a podcast person, the audio version drops tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. on all podcast platforms. So we'll leave you with this thought. The journey of healing is yours and yours alone, and it definitely takes time, but it is possible. Knowing that your brain is fundamentally designed to adapt, to recover, and to heal, what is one small, manageable step you could take today to start helping it along that path?